exactly what Van Vleuten said. When I attacked with that group and was left on my own, I felt that today might be one of those days. There we are with the live images. And this is the lead of the race with, of course, the world champion. She is there. We also see Leah Thomas there. Also, it looks like it's Shirin van Anrooy for the Trek Segafredo team, and we have yet to identify the Canyon Tram rider. But Anna van der Breggen has been very active from the start, and during the CIMAC Ladies Tour last week, she said that this is going to be her last Women's World Tour race. There's only the European Championships next week and the World Championships at the end of this month for her. That means that this is going to be her last race in the rainbow jersey, and I think she wants to go out with a bang, and the finish here suits her to perfection. So we've got 4 teams in that first group with Movistar, SD Works, Trek Segafredo and Canyon Tram. 4 of the stronger teams here, meaning that the chasing is now down to the other teams. The gap 1 minute 11, 25.9 kilometers to go, and a very interesting final ahead of us. We had a bigger breakaway a little while ago with also Van der Breggen, also Leah Thomas. There she is. But not with Van Anrooy, but also with Amia Lusik. So these 3 riders, Van der Breggen, Thomas and Amia Lusik, were in the original breakaway. And Shirin van Anrooy wasn't mentioned, so that would mean that she would bridge across, or it was just a miscalculation from the commissaire on the motorbike, misidentifying numbers 24 and 25, because Diederiksen was indicated as being in the breakaway, but I think it must have been Shirin van Anrooy from the start. A strong breakaway here with, of course, the world champion in her last race in that rainbow jersey. That is what she said last week. Of course, maybe the plans will change, but in the case of Anna van der Breggen, she's always firm and steadfast in what she says, and I think her last race will indeed be the World Championships, and that is 3 weeks from today, or basically 3 weeks from yesterday. The peloton currently led by the riders of Massi Tactic, one of the Spanish teams here. And with all due respect, of course, that is not the team that is going to bridge across or going to close the gap on that breakaway of 4 riders. They need a little bit of assistance from other teams, but yeah, who's going to do it? There are other World Tour teams who are not represented in the breakaway, with Team Bike Exchange, Ale Ljubljana, Liv Racing, FDG, Team DSM as well, but I don't see them at the lead of the peloton. I do see Rianne Marcus there in 3rd place, also Ellen van Dijk. Of course, she doesn't have to do anything. Her teammate Van Anrooy is in that first group. Also Anna Henderson, who has a good shot of actually winning this stage, to be honest. So yeah, Jumbo-Visma does have reason to go and chase down this breakaway. But these are 4 strong riders with Leah Thomas, Anna van der Breggen, Amia Lusik and Shirin van Anrooy. Amia Lusik recently won a stage. It's not something that she does very often. She's not a very prolific winner, but she won a stage in the Lotto Belgium Tour. A lovely solo effort, just staying clear of the peloton by a small margin, a few seconds only. And look at the pace there of Shirin van Anrooy. You can see that it's going uphill, and yet sprinter stages in Spain usually include at least 1,000 altitude meters, so don't be fooled by the fact that this was announced to be a sprinter stage. And now it's indeed Jumbo-Visma doing the work at the front of the break, but they can't do it on their own. If other teams are interested, for example, with somebody like Tatiana Guderzo, Ale Ljubljana will have to invest a little bit in the chase as well. 24 kilometers is not a lot of room left to chase down 1 minute 17, especially since this group has some very strong riders in it. Shirin van Androoy, she is the future of Dutch cycling, of course a former cyclocross world champion when it comes to the junior ranks. Made the move to Trek Segafredo last year as a first-year elite rider. Intelligent young woman, Shirin van Androoy, is starting her studies in psychology this year at the University of Maastricht, and also a full-time bike rider, full-time pro. Had a good run in the Czech race in July in the Tour de Féminin, and was their best young rider. 4th in the GC. Hasn't won a race this year, but has been really growing as a rider. And I've explained before that it's not easy if you're young. She's only 19 to make that move to the pro. She was barely 8. She was not even 18 when she made that move. Apparently there's still the remainder of the group of the original breakaway between the peloton and the 4 chasers. We have yet to know how far they are behind, and that would be from the original breakaway: Sara Martin, Stine Borgli, Sofia Bertizzolo, Urska Pintar, Hanna Ludwig, Amber Kraak, Janneke Ensing, Katrien Hammers and Gosia Jasinska. That was the original breakaway, and Race Radio says that they are still in between the peloton and the first group. Breakaway of 4 now. That first group of 4 has a really good shot of making it all the way to the finish line, and yeah, of course it would be a fantastic ending to the career here of Anna van der Breggen in that rainbow jersey to actually win the stage. She's doing a lot of work there at the lead of this group, and now it's indicated indeed that the peloton is group free, and in between somewhere are the other riders, but there's no camera motor with them, unfortunately, so we can't see what is happening there. We're making our way to Santiago de Compostela, some of Pilgrim's Way for the riders. Of course, one of the most famous pilgrims towns in the world. There's routes leading to Santiago de Compostela, basically from everywhere in Europe. And then the pilgrims meet usually at the border between France and Spain, at the Puerta de Reina, or the Port of the Queen, just ahead of, just behind Pamplona, just ahead of Logroño and Burgos, the fantastic, actually 39. But the situation in the race has been that there's been attacks basically straight from the start. Small groups tried to get away, and we ended up with a group of only 30 riders. Well, they kind of came back together, but it's not been an easy day out for the riders at all. It's been full on right from the get-go. The breakaway is now in the town of Valverde. It's, which is basically, if you translate it, the Green Valley, but it's a funny name if the town is called Valverde. But look at that, the peloton is elongated. The only team working at the moment are Jumbo-Visma, with 20k to go for the breakaway. We make our way to Santiago de Compostela. Santiago, that is basically Santiago, Iago being the Spanish for St. James. And St. James is, of course, one of the apostles, one of the most important apostles of Jesus. And according to legend, well, if you're a Catholic, you do believe that his bones were interred here. They were discovered basically in the 9th century, according to the medieval legend, that is a legend, by a young shepherd's boy guided by the stars, that the grave of the apostle who was beheaded in Judea by the Roman emperor were actually here. He went to the local bishop And the bishop said, yes, indeed, these are the bones of St. James. And that's when this town started to blossom as a pilgrim's town. Santiago, St. James de Compostela. It is said that 2,000 years old. It's very difficult, of course, to ascertain that it's indeed the remnants of the saint of the Apostle James. But the pilgrims here, they come from all over the world, and they report to the pilgrims office, which is about 200 meters from where I'm seated. And there you get registered as pilgrim. You get registered by the and get a certificate that you've done the pilgrimage to Santiago. And the reason we're here this year is that it is a Jacobean year. And that's every year that the name day of St. James is on a Sunday. And it was this year. The 25th of July was indeed on a Sunday. So that's why this is a Jacobean year. And that means that even more pilgrims from around the world, COVID permitting, are coming here to pay their respects, pray at the tomb of St. James, because they built a rather magnificent cathedral on top of that grave of St. James. It's absolutely splendid. It's even called the golden facade, the entire square there. One side you have the cathedral, and the other side you have the Ayuntamiento, which is the city hall, and the architecture is absolutely splendid. But the women, they go left where the men go right tonight in the time trial. The final 200 meters of the men's race are different from the women's race, and that is because basically the entrance to the big plaza, the big market square there, is far too narrow for a road race to enter. Time trial, no problem. For a road race, absolutely impossible. So we go left towards the Faculty of Medicine and Nursing, actually. This town has about 100,000 inhabitants, and 1/3 of those are students. One of the bigger universities here, founded in the 16th century already, the University of Santiago. Well, that was enough history for now. We go back to our breakaway. We are getting ever closer to the finish line with Amelie Siek, Leah Thomas, Shirin van Androoy, and the world champion, Anna van der Breggen. The gap is coming down just a little bit here, with Marlene Reusser well surrounded there by her teammates, with Michaela Harvey there just behind her, also Blanca Vash, Elisa Longo Borghini, Ellen van Dijk. Audrey Cordon-Ragot has abandoned the race, unfortunately. The French rider. There's more racing coming up next week with the Tour de l'Ardèche, a rather challenging stage race, 8 days from the top of my head in France, with a lot of mountains. So still a lot of fun to go. But look at that bike. The gold, of course, from the Olympic Games that she won in Rio. The rainbow stripes from the world title she won last year in Imola. 2 of them, actually. And yeah, she's waving goodbye. She's ending her career, and she's going to do that in 3 weeks from now. The cars will be asked to leave the breakaway soon, as the gap has dropped below the minute. Roads here are quite wide, meaning that it's quite easy for the cars to get away. Sometimes the jury will say a little bit earlier than that 1 minute mark to get out of the way, because it's a dangerous part, especially, you know, in races like the Flemish Classics, where some of the roads are so narrow that you just can't go anywhere. This is the peloton, actually. It's not the group with the red jersey. So that big group of, I think it's about 40 riders, is now the chasing group, according to the timing. The peloton, they are minutes behind. But this is the chasing group with Marlene Reusser with the red jersey. And the gap is now coming down a little bit. to 46 seconds as we are in the town of Sigüeiro. There you see the sign of the Camino, the walkway for the pilgrims to Santiago with that shell. It's the same shell that Shell uses, but then upside down. And you see pilgrims here everywhere with the shell attached to their backpack, their walking sticks, their clothing, whatever, their hats even, indicating that they are pilgrims. And there's a lot of stories online of the rather spiritual experience that walking the Camino de Santiago it means for people. There's a big iron cross not that far from here where you leave something behind and leave your sins, leave your burdens behind when you move towards Santiago. It's absolutely magnificent, and if you ever find time, or if you're in the region, this is a must-see. There's so much splendor here, but also so much spiritual energy, really, from the people who have done that walkway, who have done that Camino, for all reasons, you know, whether it's to say grace, whether it's to be grateful for something, whether it's to be cured. People can have so many reasons to do that experience, to do that walkway. And I think if you would just ask every pilgrim here on the streets, everybody has a different story to tell, and that makes it so incredibly inspiring to be here. Even though maybe you're not a Catholic yourself, and your own feelings might be a little bit distant from what is believed to have happened here, the feeling of spiritual energy here is quite strong amongst the pilgrims, and you just feel it. It's rather impressive to be here, to be honest. But back to the breakaway, where the gap is coming down rather fast now. We're under 15k to go. Basically, we stay on big wide roads like this when all the way to Santiago, where we enter again through a industrial estate. Rather inspiring. But the final 500 meters, we come down from a big road, then we turn right, we turn right, and then the riders kind of hit a wall. And it's at least 10%, but I would not be surprised if it's 12 or 13. Then a few meters of rather flat surface and another climb coming to the 250 meters mark. Then we make a sharp left turn, and the final 200 meters are, I think it's about 1%. It's not completely flat, but it's about 1% coming to the finish line here, where there's no wind at all. I'm sitting in front of a rather splendid chestnut tree, and the leaves are not moving, so the wind will not be a factor today. There's a slight little wind coming from the south, but it's hardly anything. So I think that due to the work now also of live racing, the breakaway of 4 will have trouble. This is the peloton. They will not be a factor, I think, but we don't know exactly where they are. We can see that it's the smaller teams there, also Didriksen. So yes, indeed, it was indicated wrongly by the race radio that Didriksen was in the breakaway. That was from the start, of course, Shirin van Anrooy, because Didriksen is in that third group. Van der Breggen just keeps on pushing. A little bit extra gearing there. Little push of the button. Everything electrical, of course. Electronic shifting. And now 2 teams are joining forces here. Live racing with Bertizzolo, Jackson, Kopecky. Don't factor out Lotte Kopecky. If you saw yesterday how well she was doing, yeah, she is absolutely one of the riders to watch if we get to a bunch sprint finish. And that's what Live Racing is doing, of course. They're riding for Lotte Kopecky with Sjanne Korevaar, Valerie de Mee, and also Paulina Royakkers. The same goes for Jumbo-Visma. They have a good candidate here in Anna Henderson, winner in of stages in the Tour of Brittany. That was, I think, about 6 weeks ago, 5-6 weeks ago. Anna Henderson won stages there. That was a race of the 4th category, but still a strong field there in the east of France, the west of France. All 4 riders are all working. There's nobody really sitting on. They really can't afford to be sitting on, to be honest, because it's quite a marginal lead now of 35 seconds, and they really have to work together to defend it. With an organized chase now happening also for Elisa Balsamo in the pink of Volcar in one of her last races for that team. We now basically have 3 teams who are invested in this chase, and that makes it more difficult, of course, for the 4 riders up front, with Van der Breggen, Thomas, Van Anrooy and Amialusik. That the race radio is indicating that the camera motor has to keep more distance. Been a lot of discussions, of course, throughout the seasons, that sometimes the riders are profiting just a little bit too much from the motorbike in front of them. 35 seconds is now indicated over the race radio. The pace is really, really high today. Fastest finish was expected at 12:53, but yeah, we're going to be at the finish line a lot faster than anticipated, because it's been a great battle to get in the breakaway in the first place, and now between that break of 4 and the peloton chasing to make sure that the sprinters who, well, put in the effort to make it here to the Ceratizit Challenge by La Vuelta actually get their only opportunity at winning a sprint finish, because on the opening day it was of course down to the breakaway when Marlen Royce won it, and well, the mountains time trial, and yesterday was a solo effort and a win by Annemiek van Vleuten. So this is basically the only opportunity for many of the riders in this peloton to actually go for a sprint finish, and many teams as well. I just named the 3 most important ones, with Volcar for Elisa Balsamo, Jumbo-Visma for Anna Henderson, and Liv Racing for Lotte Kopecky. But don't factor out as well somebody like Lisa Brennauer, who could do well on a finish like this one. There's many candidates who could do well, but they still have to catch these 4 riders, with Anna van der Breggen in that rainbow jersey. The last time we will see her, as she's indicated last week herself, in that rainbow jersey. The other races that she will race will be in orange of the Dutch national team. There we have a helicopter shot of the difference of the peloton and the first group. It seems like one of the riders is attacking from that group. It looks like that is Leah Thomas. It is indeed Leah Thomas. It's hard to spot from the helicopter. She is trying to break free from her 3 companions. Of course, it's a daring thing to do, because it's still 10 kilometers to go, and all of them would benefit from staying together. But Leah Thomas is just going to try on her own, the American rider for Team Movistar. She's going to leave the team next year, going to move to Trek Segafredo, the 32-year-old from California. Also, the peloton is showing that we are on a hilly part of the course. Spanish flat, as the riders in the peloton always euphemistically call it. And there we go with Leah Thomas. Last stage that she won was the final stage last year in the Séptima Ciclista Valenciana stage race in the east of Spain, in Valencia, all the way in February, that is. There we have the attack. On the drops, attacking from that group of Milusik van der Breggen, number 13 on her back. Maybe it's her lucky number today. Leah Thomas, a very experienced rider. Has been in the peloton for quite some time. Started her career a little bit later and moved from the 2016 team via United Healthcare, Bigla Pro Cycling, to Movistar, who reached out to her last year after Bigla was, or actually Poleka just didn't pay what they were supposed to or what they promised to do, leaving everybody out without a contract and without any certainty. But Leah Thomas is going to try what her teammate Annemiek van Vleuten did last year. And mind you, Leah Thomas is a very prolific time trialist, a former winner of the Chrono des Nations and the Chrono Champenois, two time trials, two individual time trials, usually at the end of the season. And she beat in 2018 Leah Thomas, a certain Mylen Reusser. And in 2019 she won it again. It's always one of the last races of the year in France. Leah Thomas won that one in 2019 with a margin of 41 seconds on Vita Heine, 55 on Emma Norsgaard, and 56 on the world record, world hour record holder Victoria Bussi. Also in the top 10, by the way, a certain Anna Heisenhofer. Anyways, this is an interesting scenario. The peloton, of course, is still after that bunch sprint finish with the likes of Kopecky, Balsamo, Brennauer. But they are kind of looking at each other. Look at what Movistar is doing there. They're out there protecting the breakaway of that. She's not her best at the moment. Really digging in, Leah Thomas. 10k out from the finish line, trying. Really pushing the big gear there on this long road. And it's always difficult to stay motivated on these long roads. If it's a little bit more turns and everything, you can just work mentally from one tower out to say goodbye to Movistar, who gave her a contract at the end of last year when she was left with nothing after Equipe Paulica. Elongated peloton, the pace is high in all the groups there. Not only Leah Thomas and the three chasers, but also the peloton. Everybody is fighting in that final stage here of the set. And now 5.5 kilometers to go for Leah Thomas, as Fabio Aru is just warming up here in front of us on the finish line of the challenge by La Vuelta in his last race ever. Still indicated wrong. It's not Leah Kirchman, it's Alena Amielusik now leading ahead of Anna van der Breggen and Shirin van Anrooy. Leah Thomas seems very hard to catch. There's the peloton. The peloton is hot on the heels of the three chasers. They're almost about to catch, and that means that there's more firepower, there's more watts now together in the peloton catching Leah Thomas. Of course, it's not a battle of her against the three chasers. It then will become a battle of her against the peloton with combined forces from Liv Racing, from Jumbo-Visma as well, from Ceratizit, all the teams that are looking after a sprint here. And that is not good news for Leah Thomas, I should say. This is bad news for the American rider, that the peloton seems to be catching the three remaining breakaway riders. It's a lone battle here for the Movistar rider from the USA. A little downhill stretch here on the big ring, shifting to even more all the way to the left to get as much watts out of the legs as she possibly can without spinning out of control. But this changes for the American rider. There we are, Amilusik, Van Androoy, Van der Breggen caught by the peloton. And then we need an organized effort, of course, to catch Leah Thomas and to make sure that we do get that sprint finish that everybody wanted and that has been on the mind of the sprinters in those grueling stages over the mountains on day 1 and day 3. It's over for Van Androoy, Van der Breggen and Amilusik. And now it's one woman against the peloton. Leah Thomas versus the peloton. With, well, Liv Racing now taking command. Lotte Kopecky, in my opinion, is the biggest favorite to win this bunch sprint kick. And remember, in the final 500 meters, we do have some serious uphill percentages, not to be underestimated. But this is like a duo time trial from the riders from Liv Racing. Fantastic with Alison Jackson there. And if you don't follow her on either Instagram or TikTok, please start doing so, because it will always bring a smile to your face every time she posts something. A little duo time trial going on here between Liv Racing, one rider of Movistar, and then the peloton. What a remarkable outcome of this stage. We're almost there, 2.5 kilometers, but still Leah Thomas holds that margin. She's in the GC at place 11 at 8 minutes 21, but she doesn't care about that. She wants to win a stage and give Movistar a little bit of a thank you, a gracias, for giving her a contract after Paula K just failed to pay up. But there seems to be a little bit of organization now going to happen in the peloton. Final 2 kilometers are coming up, and look at those speeds. 50k an hour, 44k an hour. Peloton versus Leah Thomas. Is it going to be one of those days again where the peloton miscalculates and the breakaway, or the lone breakaway rider, is going to make it? What is Movistar going to do at the front? Are they going to protect the breakaway of Leah Thomas? We also see Team DSM coming to the front there. They lost Corin Rivera yesterday, but they still have Leah Kirchmann and Floortje Mackay to go for it. But yeah, it's absolutely down to Liv Racing now, led by Alison Jackson, the powerful rider from Canada, followed by Ellen van Dijk, Elisa Longo Borghini, and also Rianne Marquez is there working for Anna Henderson. The British rider just signed a new contract with the Jumbo-Visma team, and she would love to win a World Tour race. But still, with just over a kilometer to go in the streets of Santiago de Compostela, we have Leah Thomas giving everything. That final kilometer, or basically the final 500 meters, are tough. Don't underestimate it. They are really, really tough. And she's been giving a lot already, but she has a margin of 15 seconds. Is the peloton going to be there in time, or is it going to be yet again, just like Alison Jackson, just like Rianne Marquez, just like Kirsten Faulkner we've seen in the past weeks, a question of the peloton just miscalculating? Here we go, the first of the 2 ramps is coming up. There it is for Leah Thomas. Where is the peloton? Are they already in that corner, or are they not? It's going to be very, very close. 500 meters to go. There is the peloton. You have to be among the first riders in that peloton to make sure that you have a chance here in the final 200 meters. Here's the second ramp for Leah Thomas, up towards the church. Almost there. The end of the climb is at the church. Oh, she's looking over her shoulder. That's never a good sign. But the camera motor is still with her, meaning that the peloton is not yet there. She has done the climb. How much does she have on the peloton? 250. Oh, there is Lotte Kopecky already with Elisa Longo Borghini. Such a heartbreaking moment for Leah Thomas. But it's going to be a sprint between 2 national champions, Elisa Longo Borghini, Lotte Kopecky, and this is of course a great opportunity for Lotte Kopecky. Well, she seems to be struggling, but of course normally she should win against Elisa Longo Borghini. Kopecky or Longo Borghini? It's going to be Lotte Kopecky. Of course it is going to be Lotte Kopecky. What a fantastic win. It looks like Anna Henderson there in 3rd place, Catablanca Vash, Elisa Balsamo, and then we look at the red leaders jersey and know that the winner of the race is Annemiek van Vleuten. But what a heartbreaking moment for Leah Thomas. 200 meters to go for her. And then all of a sudden, Lotte Kopecky and Elisa Longo Borghini were there. The camera didn't really pick it up. All of a sudden they were there, but what a stage. What an outcome. What an outcome. And there she is, the winner. And this is important. Don't underestimate how important this is for a team like Movistar. She already won the Circuito de Navarra. She won the Clásica San Sebastián. And that's all in the north of Spain, where Movistar is originally from. And now she wins the Ceratizit Challenge by La Vuelta. Of course, winning a World Tour race is fantastic. And there is Anna van der Breggen coming across the line, the final time in that rainbow jersey. And I'm even getting a little bit emotional about it, I notice. What a fantastic, what an amazing career she has had. Anna van der Breggen will be world champion. And there it is, the splendid cathedral, which you will see Leah Thomas. But there she is, Elisa Longo Borghini, Lotte Kopecky, just going past her on their way, storming towards the finish line. And in a sprint against Lotte Kopecky, you know you're just not going to make it. Yeah, one of the, I think it's a monastery actually. Of course, a lot of monasterial orders here, as the big boss of Movistar, Mr. Eusebio Unzué, makes his way to the finish line just ahead of us. Of course, celebrating the win of Annemiek van Vleuten. A little bit of a two-faced tale for the Spanish team, of course. And the key today was having a strong team. So that is basically what Lotte Kopecky said today after her win. And now we're waiting for the interview with the winner. I can already hear her voice, Annemiek van Vleuten. For Lotte Kopecky, it was her 15th win. And of course, for Annemiek van Vleuten, it was all about just defending and bringing home the overall win, which is hugely important for herself. Of course, she's already won quite a few World Tour races this year with the Tour of Flanders after that fantastic solo. She won the Donostia Clásica San Sebastián, the World Tour race, the final overall in the Ladies Tour of Norway, and now the overall here in the Ceratizit Challenge by La Vuelta. That's 4 World Tour races already. Of course, an Olympic title. She's a Spanish sponsor from the north here, from the province of Navarra.